Okay, I'm going to try to tell the truth and take it easy. The first thing I have to mention about is my outfit. Uh, I know sometimes people wear crazy shit or like something like this to troll, basically. Like proactively troll. Because some trolling happens after the fact, and believe it or not, most trolling happens before the fact, and we might not even realize we're doing it. And sometimes I do that. Yes, sometimes in that spirit, and you can tell by the spirit that holds my voice. I am not full filled, full filled with the Holy Spirit, you know? I mostly make mistakes in in logic, in my demeanor, in my thoughts of myself and others, and the way that I interact with them, mostly. But I'm wearing this outfit because I'm going to talk about something really real, and I will offer no proof, except for the truth has a certain ring to it. And sometimes I allude to the truths I'm grasping at. So a lot of times when I talk about truths, I'm talking about, and I speak very matter of factly, about truths I'm grasping at. Today I'm going to talk about a truth. And unfortunately, I only have 59 minutes. So I'm going to try to stay on point. And this might be another multi length, and I might never get there like I often don't. Telepathy. But anyway, why I'm wearing this is because I'm going to say things that if you're close, I won't even say if you think or suspect or believe they're true, as that belief comes to knowledge, things get very dicey. Very dicey. And I'll explain why later. But why I'm wearing this is because it might be shocking if you're on that spectrum, you know, and we're talking about a tenth of the spectrum, 10 to 20% of the spectrum. And if you're there, it's dicey. If you really know what I mean and you're in a dicey place right now, I would suggest you put this video aside, unless you're dicey but feeling really strong. But if you're more like this, go do something and feel comfortable. Put cold water on the back of your neck, some cold water on your wrist and the back of your neck. Unless you're super cold, then put something warm there. Or on the other sides. Go do something else, please. So that's my warning. And like I said, I have no proof to offer except for there's a certain proof to the truth. And I'm going to try to speak true today as much as possible about the truths I know, because I'm always trying to talk about the truths I'm trying to figure out. But this one I know. And I'm trying to keep it light, even though it's been the most devastating thing and the most prolonged devastating thing in my life. There was one moment before all this that was the most devastating moment of my eternal life thus far in time that lasted a second and has affected every day of my life since. Anyway, sorry to be theatrical. I don't know how to be any other way than the Pavlov's dog that I am. You know, I'm trying to get there. It's worth noting I broke out the rainbow today. The collapses that came about me pressing record that happened today have stretched across time almost like nothing else, and I don't feel as intense as I've often felt when something like this happens, and it's peculiar. I don't understand, because to me it's just another Jeff in a t-shirt video. But so in a lot of ways this video looks like the last 20 or 30 that I've made, but for some reason this one is different because it is collapsed across time, and I'll get more into that. Telepathy. It's one of those things like being a superhero we yearn for, we reach for. If other people can do it, we want it, right? The thing is, telepathy is just one of a host of powers, perceptual abilities that come to them. Spoiler alert, you know, turn back now. Telepathy is real. It has been proven to me down to the bone. We've yet to get to the marrow, but we've hit bone. And here's why we can't handle the truth. Last chance. I'm going to be nice about it, as best I can. And I'm talking to an audience I'm just trying to help. Why? It's all part of full disclosure, full. But why we can't handle the truth, or at least this has been my experience over the last 5 years, and like I said, I don't even know the truth. I'm not enlightened, I'm not awakened. Shit's happened to me, and I'm still seeking. I sought and I found. I referenced Chester Copperpot before, right? Well, when you find, the first thing you find is Chester Copperpot. You don't find the ship, and you don't get the rubies right off. And when you find Chester Copperpot in this search, it don't feel too good. Why? There are a number of reasons. But the big and hard thing to understand about, like, saints, sorcerers, archangels, Castanedan allies and emissaries, daimons, witchcraft, wizards, apostles, prophets, clairvoyants, empaths, syncretists, etc., etc. Like Magi, Sufis, Kabbalists, alchemists, like etc., etc. On and on and on. Is that the telepaths we're dealing with are all of those things plus. And the hard thing I have found is that when I realized, and I'm assuming there are others like me in this respect, when we realize that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, dot, dot, people know everything we've ever thought, or at least what we assume are people, or everything we've ever thought. They know everything we've ever thought, and will think the them. I know it sounds crazy, and I know I look crazy, but this is to keep it light, because if you know what I'm talking about, or if you're not, if you're cool and you're chill and you're just like, yeah, whatever, or if you're like, fuck this, but still watching, or if you're like, I'm willing to think about it, then, just do this thought experiment, even if you think it's horseshit. Think of everything you've ever done and thought. Everything. Every single thing. And then imagine that not only God knows that, but folk around, people that you know, maybe a couple few, since I'm going to only talk about truth, I don't know what your particular situation is. It's my assumption at this point, a strong assumption, that everybody has at least one of these in their life. Talk about guardian angel, we have guardian people. The maximum of how many of these are in your life is a very large number. And different people have different ideas of what that means. So I'll just leave it at that. And I'm sorry I'm being that way. I'm trying to, because this, I get all like this, and I get all like this, and I get all like this, but like, that's because that's just part of who I've become. I don't necessarily want to keep all of it. Some people say it's all good, but I'm not necessarily of that camp. There are different ways to joke. But it's very serious. So think of everything you've ever thought, and then think of the idea that there are those around, and they could look like anybody, telepath. So I'm just going to narrow it down now from this whole like saint. I might bring up Archangel Raphael again, but besides that, I'm just going to say forget all the other stuff I said, and now just focus on telepathy. Right? Forget all that other stuff. That was just. But we're just going to say telepathy. Forget all the other shit. Telepathy. reading people's minds. Also intercommunication, but that has to do with like I'm reading your mind, you're reading my mind, I'm reading your mind, you're reading my mind, which is a little different. Though, if you have the capacity for your mind to be read, you also have the capacity to read minds. It's a two-way street. It's just some of those folk put up construction flags and say, one lane. When we look someone in the eyes and they know not just how we're presenting ourselves, not just the stories about us, not just what we say we think, not just what we've written in our diary or a note to a friend, but when we look someone in the eyes and know that they know what I'm thinking right now, and it won't take long before your mind takes a wrong turn. Or I should say, it didn't take long for me, a second. And when it takes that wrong turn, it's like, what about Bob with Tourette syndrome? Except supposedly he does it voluntarily. In my experience, in the mind, amongst these folk who come about, and it could just be a second, 5 seconds. That's all it takes. You can think a lot in 5 seconds and then take the next 5 hours, 5 days, 5 weeks, breaking it down in every which way. Because as soon as you don't want to think about something, you're going to think all the worst shit in the fucking world. Every bad thing you've heard other people say, you're going to be saying it in your head because you don't want to. I'm sorry I'm saying you. I mean, that's what happened to me, but I'm assuming. So for people who don't believe in telepaths at all, I'm saying, yeah, exercise that thought experiment. Only because, well, it introduces us to ourselves in a more authentic way. Kind of. Except we're already, like, I was Pavlovianized before I even can remember anything, right? We're Pavlovianized from the get-go. So sometimes, like, delving into the subconscious always isn't, it doesn't always tell you the truth about you. It tells you the truth about the relationship between your truth and your conditioning. And it's a lot of work to try to parse out those differences and say, am I really like this? Like, is that really what I want? And especially if we're talking about like mind reading, if we have like some pervy thoughts, you know, take that as far as you want. And then when you're talking to someone, man or woman, and know that they're reading your mind, it's a very, 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 very difficult situation. Like, it's hard to face our own thoughts, and we're experts at burying them. But then to know that we can't bury them because we know they are being observed and we can't deny them. Without telepathy, we can deny a lot. With telepathy, we can't deny anything. You know, You think people hacking your email is bad? Doesn't even touch it. But that's where we're at. And why am I being allowed to say this? Simply because keep it simple. People always say keep it simple, stupid, but I call myself stupid at least a couple hundred times a day, at least. And top ranges. But I've decided that I'm going to try to say keep it simple, smelly, because I am smelly. And it's true. So be it. Thank goodness Samsung hasn't figured out that I know of how to make a, what would it be called? A smellerometer? A snifferama? Thank God Samsung has yet to install snifferamas on your phone. I hope they'd make it as simple as like a location button to turn off if they ever did. The aliens have got it though. But anyway, yeah, like realizing that people can read your mind means that everything you've ever thought, everything you've ever done, every bad thing you don't even want to think about. And it could be something really, really nothing. It could be something fucking completely horrible. I mean, damnable. Or it could just be some like thing, it's like whatever. But that puts us in the mindset, theoretically, once you actually know it's true and don't just believe it, like, know it's true, then it's like a real life and death philosophical problem or equation that you have to solve or you fail. And what's failing you? You die. Of shock, it's so traumatic that it puts your body into, and this, yeah, that part I know. Because you're in fight or flight 24/7. That's why the truth isn't told. The truth isn't told because if they could show you what they can do in the simplest way, and what they can do is they could say every thought you were thinking as you were thinking it. You could just sit there thinking and they could write down word for word what you're going to be thinking at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow. Put it in an envelope. You'd open it up and it would be exactly what you just thought. Or next year, or 10 years from now, right? Telepaths, the real fucking deal. I'm sorry I'm being like that. I'm being too much like I'm in on it. I mean, I'm still pretty much at life and death level every day, but besides that, I'm fine. Meanwhile, I'm trying to live my ordinary, regular day life. That's kind of why I disguise the names of my videos, because it's like I gotta go to work. I'm hanging by it. To my mind, I'm hanging by a thread. I'm otherwise unemployable. Luckily, like my boss likes me enough, and my coworkers and my customers. A lot of it has to do because I used to do a really great job. Remember I worked like, I think I worked like 17 hours on New Year's Eve one time, which to me is a lot, because I fucking hate work. I'm lazy as shit, but stuff like that, like I've worked, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, hour days. I ain't never worked no 100-hour week, People do that shit. But anyway, yeah, so I'm trying to keep it on the down low till later, when that thing matters less and whatever this is matters more. What I have to leave crumbs as I go on this trail. I have to. I'd rather die a Chester Copperpot who at least left a trail than be someone who got further and didn't, right? Because whoever's getting to the end's getting to the end, and that's it. It's not. That's why we can't handle the truth, and that's why we have to help each other. It's also why all these secret societies, they weren't, they were known, right? And some of them we learn about after the fact. But there's one, maybe a couple. And it stretches back thousands of years. And like all the bad shit you hear about all the other ones, that was the thing they built to try to make things better. And it pretty much everything they build does make things better for a time, or in a place, or for a certain situation, or peering through time, knowing how things are going to play out. Yeah, now it's the apocalypse, not because it's the end of the world, but because it's the revelation. And it's the end of the world as we know it. But it it's no sunshine walk. It's not just cupcakes, peaches and cream, and all that. So that's why so many of the people who become whatever it is, and however that goes, some of them are pretty badass. It's like Clint Eastwood said, tough ain't enough, but you gotta be tough enough. Here. And that's all I got. And I don't mean it like the Sublime song, like love is all I got. I don't mean it like that. I mean it like it's all I got. I was trying to make a math thing for a heart. I guess that's not really an equation it's kind of like a definition, right? It's not really an equation or a formula, but like you can graph it. In my mind, I thought it would look like a heart. It's not too far off, a little more like a lily pad. If it was a little closer, I'd animate it. That's the key. I think that's all the information you need. You have that, and I think that's the information you need. And you get that, which I was hoping looked like a heart. SuperPop. It's because I'm super pop culture in the way I talk about things. I don't really know what experts know, but I think so much about all this stuff, and shit's not just that. Shit's fucking happens. I'm above the or outside the narrative of pop culture. Super pop. There was a Monet with the lily pads, and he had that. I think it's an ellipse Rome. It's a big lily pad painting. Gotta spend however much time on it. I walk in it for 5 seconds. Nice. For the life of me, I can't figure out why now matters. Maybe something's coming up in life, or in my life, or in the world. But I guess maybe it's just saying the truth as I know it as responsibly as possible. Maybe that's like the first step of a new journey. I have discovered there are reasons, like I've never taken any oaths, and that's one of the things about, I've never been part of anything. It's just, I found something, and when I found it, I realized that that something has had me in its sights since before I knew. And the thing I was searching for was always there, like out there, so to speak. Still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I have found that as those who know about it. And if you're watching this, you may as well. And I won't say from the beginning, but for a long, long time, the progression through time is that a little more is given, a little more is given to more people, a little more is given, right? So the idea is that I'm trying to help right now. I'm trying to wash you off in a certain sense. I'm trying to give you some relief, and that's it. I'm trying to give you a small amount of clarity and a small amount of relief. The relief I'm trying to give you is that you're not alone. I don't always talk like this in a calm, soothing way. And I certainly don't always feel like that. I'm very much a scaredy cat. I come out into myself when I'm in my room of one's own. I'm very much Virginia Woolf in this sense. I'm very much Helen Keller in this sense, in so much as it's like I can't hear or see anything, and in the world I'm just frightened to death. But I've got those first couple letters, and I'm like, most of the time the thrashing has stopped. There's always thrashing on the waters, but the fish are mostly a little smaller lately. So I've been given a kind of comfort to deal with the reality of things. And the reality of things is that, when I'm trying to pass it on, just say I've been there. And it's hard, it sucks. It feels very life and death. It's hard to deal with everything. But today I was specifically talking about like telepaths. People who know what we think. And then we have to look at what we think and then know people know that. That's why we can't handle the truth. If you can handle this, the only way that I can say I can handle it is that I'm still here. Besides that, to say that I mostly haven't handled it would be correct. But I'm still here and able to do this and say, hey, maybe even to myself. Yeah, I am doing this for myself as well. Over the long term of making these videos, it's therapeutic. Each one is complete smelly, but I just hope I can figure out a way to help me help myself before it's too late. Doesn't mean I survive, but it means I survive till the job's done. My job. Yeah, I don't need an assassin. I'll get there fast enough on my own. But I'm still here. And I'm leaving a trail. And that's all I got. But that's where I can recruit you. Whether you're one person or 10 people who ever watch this. That's a lot. Talking about shit like this. One of the things that has gotten me through is the idea of like, I'm gonna help save somebody. And that is gonna be more important to me than saving myself, If I could put all this energy into just quit smoking. Have I considered that, well, the enemy trying to get me to save other people is the thing that's going to kill me because I spend all my time thinking on that and not about my health and my well-being and my monatomic gold and I still focus on like prana, chi, energy just a little at the time. I should spend a little more time on that, with results, but for instance, I did a lot of things over the last several years when like got to the point where I couldn't digest food. 10-year thing. This is like the first 6-month period where I've been able to consistently digest and poop every day. You know, sometimes I might not poop one day and I'll poop 3 times the next day, right? So I'm averaging more than a poop a day. Which sounds like, what? Talking about poop? But poop's the most important thing. It's one of the most important things in the world. It should be lifted up to subject number 1. And that's what a lot of truth seeking is about. It's about poop. So much of that mystical, the secrets of the mystical work of the ages is about poop. And pooping. Eating. Chewing your food. Chewing your food is the equivalent of filling up your tires. Or just like maintenance on your car. Like, it's pretty much the first best good thing you can do is to chew, 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 chew. We should all have 2-hour lunches. I guess is it the Italians? I guess they have it right. We should all have 2-hour lunches. It should take like 45 minutes to eat a plate of food. Or brunches. And not including talking. Just flat out 45 minutes of chewing. I'm talking just a plate of food. I ain't talking to fucking 45 minutes of Speaking myself, trust me. Alright, I'm going to try to get back on track. Telepaths. Anyway, yeah, what I found out with that digestive problems is the number one thing is I was feeling tremendous flight or fight, Pavlovianized. Fight or flight's bad enough. Pavlovian's fight or flight is even worse. Well, I shouldn't say that because fight or flight's like, don't eat me, and then if you get eaten, that's worse. That's worse than not digesting things well for 8 years. Getting eaten, not digesting things for 8 years, not pooping, totally really sucks. Getting eaten is much worse. Much infinitely worse. Couldn't be worse. Couldn't be worse. Well, it could probably be just a little bit worse, but it would be indistinguishable. But yeah, that was caused from like the shock, the horror, the absolute horror. People watch like, there's a new Saw movie. Like that's horror, right? It's entertaining to watch. In real life, it would be just unimaginable. In meeting a telepath or telepaths, which is 2+, exposes you to your own thoughts at every second, and let you know that others know them at every second. And that's terrifying. I hate to keep using this word, but it's like suicidally terrifying. And when you're talking all the way up, because there's people who know these types of things and, yeah, manipulate people, man. Not good. Real bad. But all the way up. It's a level of compassion that this is not revealed. Because it'll just about kill you. And even if you don't kill yourself, like, you'll go into such shock that you'll die over a short or long period of time. You know. It's a great act of compassion amongst those among us. But they want to get us there. And one of the reasons they want to get us there is because they actually know. Not necessarily everyone who knows more than you or I. Not everyone who's breached the veil, let's say. But that's certainly at the top. It is a long-held conspiracy of compassion. A long-held conspiracy for good. With great patience over a very long time. To get the world to the place where you didn't have to join a secret society, or you didn't have to look obscurely in some way. Like, now if you have the inkling, I mean, they're out there. They're on the internet. I mean, it's not quite like They Live, but it's not so unlike They Live, except in the other way. And learning to trust them is very, very difficult. Because it's inconceivable. The regular human things that they do. Never mind. But even the regular human things that they do across the spectrum. And I'll just leave it at that. Stick to the idea of how shocking it is. Because this is just supposed to be like one. Trying to say something true. Think of how shocking it is that someone would know not just what you're thinking now, as brutal as that is, when you say don't think something bad, or don't think something inappropriate, and then you think it and know that they know what you're thinking. Because as soon as someone's in your head, you're thinking, don't be inappropriate, whatever that means, right? And then they know what you just thought. But you're just guessing the whole time. And they know. And I guess what I'm saying is they love you anyway. Though, I suppose, we have to be careful because maybe some don't. At that level. And that's like where also we come in. is that these guys, they need help. Eternally, they don't necessarily need help because these folk are either in or creeping up on in time, though they're atemporal, the Omega point. So they're already in time, in like Flynn. But they want all souls, all dogs go to heaven, all souls go to heaven. But not all get to keep their individuality, so to speak. And they want as many of us there as possible. It's the ultimate service to God to, put it very simply, give him people he can relate with. Sorry, I use the male pronoun. At this point in my life, I probably can't shed it. Though we should recognize that at least symbolically, and if we take that metaphysically, it means much more, as much as it means historio-symbolically. At least Judeo-Christian, Torah Shia. The God I just called him had a mom. The God I just called him had a mom. If truth were a woman, what then? To all you folk who love Nietzsche and don't realize that, I mean, he's not even a 007 Christian. So, Nietzsche versus Kierkegaard? Mm-mm. Nietzsche, Kierkegaard. Just different language. Yeah, they're dangerous. Calling on dangerous men. Who are the most dangerous men? Time has proven it's often time has proven, history has proven. And I do mean this on every level, especially to those who think I'm just spouting, or book humping. I mean it kind of metaphysically too. God had a mom. So of course we're talking about JC. A lot of people pray to Jesus. Who is Jesus praying to? Right? And who's that thing? That God of God. Who's that pray to? And how far back do you have to go? To mom? But at some point we get to the creator, the creation, the creator, the I am, where there's no one to pray to. guess that's people wouldn't normally think of like how afraid God is.